Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Happy Monday. Happy Monday following a victory on Saturday that now makes me feeling a little bubbly, if you will. Victory for the basketball team, that is. Happy Monday following 2 out of 3 victories so far against the running Rebels out there in UNLV for the baseball program. The game tonight to completely take home the series. Let's go Bearcats. And then, of course, it's a Monday where we are 2 weeks away to the start of spring practice for the football program, which means that I'm going to welcome in everybody. Everyone is here. Everyone's present. Everyone's ready. So without further ado, we've got a very special guest with us as well. So for Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer, and of course, the defensive coordinator for your Cincinnati Bearcat football team, Tyson Veit. Gentlemen, how are we?
Doing well, thanks.
Doing good. It was a long weekend, Brent. It was a long weekend.
You get some sleep?
No, there was no sleep involved this weekend. It was 8 a.m. volleyball games at Spooky Nook in Hamilton. So you got to be there by 7. You got to leave the house by 6. That means up at 5. I am not a 5 a.m. guy. I can do 6:30, 7. That works pretty well. 5 a.m. beats me up pretty good. But, made it to volleyball, made it to the basketball game, back to volleyball on Sunday. Kelly's family was in town to see Kelsey play. So I had dinner for like 10 people Saturday night at my house. It's been a weekend, but I made it, and I'm excited and ready to talk some ball.
How'd we do in volleyball?
Really good on Saturday, and then they lost 2 close ones in the tournament on Sunday. So they're improving.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a good sign. They made it into the gold bracket and then got edged out in the 2 games on Sunday. So she's doing good. She's team captain.
Awesome.
So we're getting there.
Good.
Captain. Gotta love that. Aaron, sir, how are we down there?
I'm doing all right. Nothing exciting this weekend. Pretty relaxed. So I was happy with that. Did a lot of cooking this weekend. I made like a chicken gnocchi soup on Friday.
Okay.
I made Mexican stuffed peppers on Saturday.
Jeez.
And then on Sunday I had it was a garlic honey pork tenderloin with honey glazed carrots.
You cooking for yourself, or you got other people you're cooking for?
We're a family of 6. We got some mouths.
Okay, I was making sure you were sharing that. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
A Gordon Ramsay mode this weekend.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah, it was a lot of cooking.
A little trip around the world with all those dishes, man.
A little bit.
There we go. Royer, the boy. How are we, man?
Doing good. I got to watch the Cats in action on Saturday. 2-0 on the year, so I'm gonna make sure I'm at the game tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Not claiming all the good luck charm, but for some reason they win when I'm there. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Got to hang out, watch some good hoops, just kind of recharge, and excited to talk to our guy right here, Coach Veit. You know me, I'm a big defensive guy, so looking to get down into the nitty-gritty off-season installs and all that fun stuff you guys are going through right now.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
We're absolutely going to. We have to get a good guest on as spring practice is getting ready to fire up here soon. So there's no more excitement that needs to be bubbling up, if you will, than the basketball program picking up the win on Saturday, like you said, Royer. Can't wait to dive into that later because Chad, Aaron, Coach, right? It's a little bubbly in here. I feel positive energy flowing. But no, we gotta introduce you, Coach Veit. Obviously you come from played Garden Center, as we were talking off camera, and back in college, little 2-year starter, a star, if you will. There,
now you're really getting carried away.
Oh, we got to raise you up, Coach. We got to raise you up. Over there at Muskegum, college. So obviously, and then you make the rounds all the way up from D3 all the way to assistant coaching, and then finding your way through here DC year 2. So I guess we got to ask you, how's your offseason going after year 1? Obviously, a lot different than it was coming in at around this time last year, about a month into your tenure as DC last year at this point. But how's the offseason going so far, and how are things looking as spring practice only 2 weeks away?
I feel like we're having a great off season. Obviously, we've got familiar faces coming back, which is always encouraging, and returners at every position in varying degrees of the amount they have played and production. But the competition is high, so that obviously makes for an exciting off season in a lot of ways. So now it's really mostly been with Coach Nico and with the strength staff and which is awesome. And our guys need all that. And really we're, building the unifying connection that we need through all of that. And I think the shared suffering of what guys go through in the weight room is the time of year that you're building the nucleus of your team. And fortunately, we've got guys that this is not their first off season here. So we do have some new guys, but we've got more veterans coming back than before. So obviously that makes you feel a lot better when there's a common language still being spoken and guys recognize that. So that's a lot of fun.
You mentioned competition, and I always think it's like an interesting time period, being that spring ball is right around the corner, and like you try to find ways to evaluate your guys in the weight room, the kind of toughness and competitiveness they have there. But I know a lot of coaches like to look at like spring ball as like a big developmental time. How do you look at like spring ball versus in terms of like evaluating like guys that are competing for spots versus just looking to develop the units as their wholes?
I think you're trying to do a lot of things in the spring. Naturally, the fundamental part of the game is still the most important. And we will work on fundamentals certainly every day at every position and then collectively as a defensive unit. However, you are trying to put all of your guys in some uncomfortable spots on the field to see how they react, see if they can perform. And then naturally you're grading guys every day on their on-field performance. So, and there's a lot of things that go into that to me too, but naturally you're trying to find, who's your best 11, who's your next best 11, and so on and so forth, because, we do play several guys on defense, and we're trying to build a viable 2 deep and then some. And naturally our guys are required to do a lot on special teams as well. So, as defensive guys, there's a lot of things our guys are called upon to do. So, but I think to, really answer your question, there's a number of things you're trying to accomplish in the spring, but ultimately, as we all know, you're trying to get to the end of spring as healthy as you can. And there's always a fine line with that, naturally. And hopefully then as you head into the summertime, then you can start to, work on the things that you feel like, you left spring hoping you had maybe another day or so.
Nice. Are you looking to mix and match guys a lot, like in terms of your 1s and 2s, and like maybe the guys kind of on the fringe of the 2s? Are you really trying to establish kind of all right, these are the guys who are playing up to the standard of being a 1. These are the guys who are at the 2s. Are you looking to kind of mix and match guys like around and having like units full of 1s, 2s, and 3s on the field at the same time?
We are, and the mix and match portion really, we're trying to, at the end of spring, hopefully, the number of reps are going to be fairly equal across the board, for a couple of reasons. But I think the mix and match portion of things is a part of the communication in that you're working on naturally. So inevitably through the course of a game in a season, you're going to have different combination of guys on the field simultaneously. So, the important part of in the aspect of communication is what you're really trying to work on. Naturally, we've got guys that just arrived coming right from high school that are 17 years old. We do have a few transfers that are here as well. So, they're still, your comfort levels are, in varying degrees. So you'd like to have guys as cohesive and as comfortable playing with one another with different combinations, just like you said, Ryan. So that only helps you ultimately as you continue to prepare.
You talked about getting the team to kind of gel together and the competitiveness already that you've seen. We know that you guys started doing the group challenges against each other last offseason, I believe. So how involved are you in all of that, and what's that experience been like last offseason, and then what have you improved for this offseason?
Sure. Well, we've got 6 crews, so we've got at least 2 captains that are the top of each crew that really have drafted that crew to go through all the off-season competitions. Obviously, academics is a portion of that, community service, all the things that our guys are doing collectively in the course of a day and a week to accumulate points. And then the coaches also have a crew that those captains, drafted along the way to be part of what we're doing. So it's a collective effort with coaches and players. And, then we will do this again as we head into the summertime as well. So really, there's a part of it that requires a lot of teamwork. And for a crew to rise to the challenge and finish first takes a lot. And, every day in the weight room, there are different ways that you're, placed in a matchup. Could be on the field, could be in the weight room. There's a lot of competition that goes into that. And it may be somebody from the other side of the ball. It may be somebody specifically at your position that you're competing with in another crew. So, I love it, to be honest with you. And it really brings our guys together, not just in their certain crew, but across the team as well, to me. So I think it's a great thing that we do.
Coach, I'm going to take it back to the beginning. One of your first days on the job, you had your introductory press conference, and you said your philosophy is going to be 3 things. You said, be fundamentally sound, keep things simple, and be an attacking style defense. So through year 1, do you feel like you've kind of gotten that standard of your philosophy installed, or are you still, is it a step-by-step everyday process? And heading into year 2 this offseason, are you feeling like things are starting to actually click and the continuity is really helping that side as well?
I do. And those 3 things we will really work on every day on the practice field. So, but I do feel like as a coach, I don't know if you're ever completely like, wow, man, this is a time where we've arrived, you're hoping yet you can incrementally improve as you go. I do feel as if fundamentally through the season, for the most part, we tackled well when we had those opportunities to make a tackle. Now, do we have to do better covering guys? We do. Do we have to do better at times in gap control? We do. And I always feel like guys will play an attacking style defense when they feel most comfortable and they know their assignments. So, and that goes with keeping things simple. So we will continue to do our best there naturally. And I think with, overall as you can return guys that have done those things and have been through a practice, doing the things we're asking them to do, that hopefully that lends to more improvement. So, but we have constantly worked on those 3 things, and keeping it simple is certainly something that we're still doing our very best every day to allow our kids to play the fastest and understand their responsibilities.
You definitely return a lot of players on the defensive side. of the ball. What did it kind of do for the team as a whole, and then for you as DC to kind of see, okay, wow, we've got Dante Corleone committed, coming back. Jake Golday is coming back. It just all these plethora of different position levels deciding to come back of all in this new NIL and transfer portal era, and then obviously only being able to just build on top of that, and also the two injured defensive linemen last season that are now back again this year as well.
Sure. Well, number one, I think it's a credit to Coach Satterfield and his program and guys wanting to come back and play for him and what he's about. So, and obviously when you talk about Dante, you talk about a wonderful human, obviously a Cincinnati guy, and certainly one of the best defensive linemen in the country. So you're getting a lot of things when you get a guy like that's still playing for you. So, like I've said before, Dante is unique because he is able to unify guys from all over positions, both sides of the ball. He's a unifier. He's a leader, and he embodies what you certainly want to build your program around, not just your defense. So I'll certainly say that. And the number of returners that we have, certainly that with a lot of production is exciting. You're not, it's just not, returners that haven't played for us. So, and like you said, that part of it makes you feel better, I guess. I don't think you ever feel great because, you obviously got to take them one day at a time, but it's not as if you're looking at the Big 12 as a conference that's not a bear, because it is. But anytime you can return guys that have experience and are great leaders, that's something that's very positive for you, for sure.
I know you mentioned guys wanting to come back and play for Coach Satterfield, but I think being your pedigree and the type of hardworking, kind of humble coach that you are, and the success that you've had, I think there's something to say about the guys wanting to come back and play on your defense. And so why do you think that is? Why do you think guys are excited to be a part of your defense and, being coached by you? Is there something that you like to bring to the table you think you excel at that maybe you can shed light on for some of the Cincinnati fans that haven't got too much personal coaching information from you?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Ryan. I think a couple of things, as a coach, you're, a great question, or a common question, I should say, is, what's your style or your philosophy? So I think number one, that you've got to allow guys that are playing for you to be themselves. And I think that's super important. And I think with that, you're trying to collectively build an identity for your unit. And that's something that we're trying to do at every single position, and to have standards that we play and operate by. Now, the other part of it, we preach to our guys that, one, we need everybody, and that's the truth. And two, that we are always looking for leaders. So that comes in all shapes and sizes and years as well. So I think, a year ago, what guys found out is like, this is happening. We do really need everybody, it appears. There are a lot of guys playing, and that part of it, I think, when, the guys can say, yep, that's what this guy stands for, is what he said. And likewise, as a coach, you can say, hey, man, we've got to be a gritty, physical football team. And, when the guys are playing like that, then you feel like you've got a little bit of trust and unity built. And that's the one part that, we have told our guys from the beginning. The trust factor is huge, and it's not disrespectful. And that really, the very first defensive unit we had, that is what we talked about a lot. If an older guy is correcting a younger guy, and it's honest. The truth isn't disrespectful. If you're being corrected as a player by a coach, and that's where you need the correction and where you need to improve, then it's not disrespectful. So that honesty and that trust portion of things hopefully is building unity and an identity on our side of the ball.
You big wrestling guy, Coach?
Professional or amateur?
Like WWE.
I was growing up, and that's when it was, WWF probably, if you remember that. Yeah. NWA was a big thing then, like the Freebirds. I don't know if you remember those guys. You probably don't.
I do. I'm old enough. I do. The Von Erichs.
Yeah, Terry Gordy, Michael Hayes, Junkyard Dog, like those. Ronnie
Coco
Garvin.
Beware.
Yeah,
the Iron Sheik.
The Sheik. So, yeah. But
well, I asked because I didn't know if you knew that Dante Corleone, Brendan Sorsby, Jake Golday, Joe Royer, and Gavin Gerhardt are actually right behind the announcers at Monday Night Raw tonight. Right. So they're getting FaceTime anytime it pans to the announcers.
Is that right? Man, that's awesome.
If you want to catch it, you can watch the replay anytime you want on Netflix. You can see it there. But yeah, there's a still of them right behind the announcers.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, good for those guys. I mean, I went live one time. It was in Cleveland at Cleveland State. And that's when Nash and those guys, when Hulk came back out, came out of, and he was with Kevin Nash.
NWO?
Yeah, NWO. Yeah, that's when that was going on. But that's when I went live. Yeah. So a few years ago.
You were bringing up the leaders, and it's just cool to see, offense and defensive guys there together.
Awesome.
It's pretty much your core leadership group all there together. So it's another just team building thing that they're doing,
no doubt,
on their own. So cool to see.
That is really cool to see. I appreciate you sharing that.
Who do you think would be the most entertaining pro wrestler on your defense?
Most entertaining. I think Jack Dingle would be a really good professional wrestler.
Okay.
To be honest with you. Now, the entertainment level with him might not be high, but you feel like he'd be productive. You know what I mean?
Right.
To be honest with you. Dante would be an entertainer, I would say for sure. In that regard, if he was a professional wrestler. I'm trying to think of somebody that would be exceedingly entertaining in that regard. I don't know, because we don't have anybody with like purple hair or, you know what I mean? That would be already like in line to do that. Or anybody that walks around with just a vest on, or a scarf only, you know what I mean? We don't have that wardrobe, I guess.
You never know. Like we had, there was a coach here that coached Roman Reigns at Georgia Tech, and that they said he wasn't, obviously he had the family ties, but like you wouldn't have thought he was going to be like the biggest name in pro wrestling. And WWE's doing a lot of that now. They are mining college sports.
Yep.
And trying to find these guys to jump over. So
they are.
I think Dante could be a pro wrestler.
He could. He really could. Yep.
We had an offensive lineman that had an NIL deal with WWE.
Cam Jones.
Yeah. Cam Jones.
Cam Jones
came in as a quarterback.
Is that right?
How about the size of that guy? He was what, 6'8", 250 quarterback.
He was hurdling the threes when I was out there during spring ball.
Oh, he
was hurdling a free safety
all the way
over.
Yeah,
I'm chasing him from behind, all 210 pounds of me back in the day.
Brought him down. Royer's had some time inside the ring as well, right? Ryan?
You have, Ryan?
I've done some. I I was our the strength staff did a WWE wrestling kind of skit for the team, and I was the announcer.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably it was an explicit content titled announcing thing, so I don't know how well I would have fared on live television. They would have been bleeping out every other word, but I did enjoy it a lot. So if you got any connections with like Bruce Buffer or anything, and you want to like shoot him my number or something, go ahead.
I don't. If I had those connections, I would definitely give him your number.
That was a fun tangent, but let's talk about connections real fast. You added some members to your defensive staff this offseason. Adam Braithwaite, Eddie Hicks, Josh Runda. Some of them do have connections to you. That's called a segue for those who want to know. Coach, can you just break down a little bit about each of the new additions and kind of your connection and what they're going to bring to the staff?
Sure. Yeah. So Josh Runda played at Bluffton when I was the head coach there. He's a Bath High grad in Lima, and was actually at Iowa State for 2 seasons with us out there as well. And then was at Idaho State most recently as a defensive coordinator out there. Years ago, Adam and I were graduate assistants together at West Virginia University. So we were together
with head coach.
With Rich Rodriguez as the head coach. That's right. Yep. Yep. And Jeff Castile was the defensive coordinator at that time as well. Yep. So that was back in 2000 and would have been the 5 season that we were together there. So that had been the last time we had actually worked together, and then had met Eddie. And he's actually got a connection. He was with Coach Dawkins on a couple different stops, which I learned after, just conversation. But Eddie and Adam were together at the University of Charlotte, UNC Charlotte. So that's actually where I had met Eddie, was when I went to visit Adam and their staff when I was at Iowa State, when they were all at Charlotte together. So, yep. So that'd be the background and the connections that we all have collectively together. Yep.
That's awesome. We've kind of talked about the returning players. There's a handful of true freshmen that played last year.
There were,
that came in and really had a huge impact. One was named as a freshman All-American, and Simeon Coleman. There was obviously all 3 levels kind of had their kind of mix in there. That's
right. Yep.
How have they looked to amp their game up to the next level this offseason? Then any kind of new names that you've been keeping an eye on, just obviously with early workouts, you haven't been able to really get them on the field until a couple weeks from now.
Well, as you all know, it's really difficult to play as a true freshman coming out of high school. And really the guys that played for us on the defensive side were all in varying degrees. A couple were early enrollees and a couple weren't, and I think anytime that, a young guy can truly get a full off season under their belt, not just for the things that you're doing in the weight room, but to allow everything really to be in the other areas on repeat a little bit and get into a great routine, I think is important for everyone, but for a young guy especially. So, just having those guys in the off season and going through everything on a daily basis, and really, not freshmen anymore, you would say. And that probably takes a turn a little bit for them once they get halfway through the season, but still really young guys. So proud of those guys and how they worked. And it's not easy for anybody to make it through a college season, but as a true freshman, just the mental and the physical both, it's a credit to those guys. And like you said, we had, Marquez Parker in the front, Simeon Coleman and Monte Whedon at linebacker. And then, further back yet, Jaquan Sanks, who started several games for us, and Quavo Sabor, both true freshmen really at the same position that played in all 12 of our football games. So you feel really good about having those guys back, and everything that they're getting now they need, the bulk, the armor, the horsepower, all of those things that they really haven't had yet, they're getting now, which is awesome.
Coach Nico has talked about how involved you are in the offseason stuff as much as any coach. He says he sees you in the weight room and all of that. Do you attribute that to having gone the D3 route and been in charge of essentially the entire team and having to have the hands-on in that regard? Or is it because you want to be involved in these guys off-season as much as anybody? You can't get enough of it. You're a junkie for this stuff. I mean, like, what's the motivation for you to be as involved as you are in the weight room when some coaches just maybe sometimes take a different route?
Sure. Well, a year ago when I arrived, Coach Satterfield allowed me to not have to go on the road and recruit for what would have been basically a week and a half or 2 weeks, which is awesome. So I could really learn guys' names and who they are and all those things. So, in addition to meeting with guys one-on-one and all those things, that's where I really started to spend time in the weight room with those guys too. And how it goes, every strength coach is certainly different, just like every position coach is different. And blessed to have, the strength coach that we have, because he is truly a unifier, and which is awesome. He's a guy that upholds the culture, and really everything starts with us, with that guy. And that's awesome. But him and being open to have coaches in the weight room while he is training guys, that's his game day. For him to be open to have coaches down in there, I think is awesome, and tells you what kind of guy he is. However, I think it's important for our guys to see us down there. So when you're able to have a strength coach like you have that is open and willing to have that occur, and then our guys, see position coaches down there and see us down there, I think is awesome. Now as coaches, it's huge, because you get to see how guys strain and how they work and how they communicate there, and are they lifting others up, and all those things that are important that translate on the field as well. But even though to many, I probably don't look like I've spent much time in the weight room, and certainly that's
don't
true.
Don't talk yourself down, Coach. Come on now.
That's true as far as the training aspect of it. But I have spent a lot of time in the weight room with guys naturally over the years, which I enjoy. That I really do. It's a lot of fun for me.
You've put together some of the best Big 12 defenses in your tenure when you were at Iowa State, and you've kind of gotten able to see the look of what an elite level Big 12 defense looks like. When you brought that mindset and mentality to here, do you kind of see that as more of a technical approach, more of a physical approach, more of a personnel approach, or is it kind of just a mix of everything when you're trying to put together a defense that can succeed at a high level?
It is a mix of several things. I think, every year is different, and every team that you have is different. And naturally you're constantly trying to find the things that the group that you have, what they're able to do best, what they're most comfortable with, what are those things you're doing, in the front, in the back, coverage, all those things that you're trying to accomplish. So I think that's still at the forefront, are the guys that we have, and putting those guys in the best position, not just specifically, this linebacker plays this spot or this defensive lineman plays this spot, but collectively allowing our defense to do what they do best. So that part of it, I think, is new every year. And a great example would be a year ago, our leading tackler, Jared Bartlett, a guy that had not played linebacker really. And we knew that we were going to need him there. And he just didn't get his production from playing, at Mike linebacker. He did a lot of different things for us on the field and aligned in a lot of different spots. So, constantly trying to sort through that as the defensive staff that's what makes things challenging and what makes things fun. And I think also our guys feel that as well. I think they understand we're trying to put them in the best position for not just them, but for us. And hopefully, we can continue to do that.
You mentioned comfortability, and I think everyone's going to be more comfortable going in this year, having a full off season of the defense installed and adding new wrinkles. Is there anything you're looking to certain players or like a certain type of scheme that you're looking to evolve and kind of throw into this 3-3-5 look? Because I know last year you could kind of say it was a lot of bend, don't break type of defense where it's, just not a ton of blitzing, not a ton of kind of exotic look to it, but you guys, you guys played solid. You guys kept guys out of the end zone. I thought you made a big step. So how are you looking to take the next steps and kind of evolve your defense as everyone gets more comfortable in this system?
Sure. And I think we'll find that out a little bit more here in a couple of weeks too. And as we progress through spring, because, we will have some guys in some new spots, even guys that are returning, we're going to plug them in some different areas too. The part of, the coverage and the pressure and all those things, naturally, you've got to cover guys long enough to get the pressure that you need. And you got to be good at providing the pressure so you can cover them long enough, so that's always a fine line of what you're working on and still trying to figure out, where are we best? What type of coverages do our guys play the best? What do they understand? So, naturally, we're going to build on the things that were positive for us a year ago. We're going to add some new things that we think will help our guys and help our team ultimately, because it's the same thing. We've got to play really good defense for our team to have a chance to win. And that's what we're preaching to our guys every day, that, it's the responsibility of the defense to play at a championship level so our team will have an opportunity to have a chance to win in the fourth quarter.
You've got a couple guys that you brought in this offseason. Well, at least one in particular stands out in my head, in Christian Harrison, but also we've now heard that Kai Stokes can also play both corner and safety along with Christian Harrison. So are you trying to get more guys in here that can kind of play some different roles as opposed to just solely at one position so you have more toys to play with?
Ultimately, absolutely. And I think that's the uniqueness of what we do with our structure. So, I think the more guys that we can get that can cover and can tackle, the more flexibility you're going to have, but also the more depth and competition you're going to have as well. So there will be some guys in some new spots for us as we begin spring. And just like I told our guys a week ago, there's going to be guys start in the spring and not finished at that position. And really, I asked our guys that question. They answered it just like that. So there's going to be guys through the spring that play more than one position for us. And, we're trying to do that, not just for the collective whole, but we also are trying to get guys on the field as fast as we can too for their individual success. And I think the more competition, but the more understanding guys have of multiple positions, then hopefully the more coaches you'll have with your players as well. And I think that's one thing that we're trying to accomplish. As coaches, we should be coaching somebody at the end of every play, and hopefully our guys are doing the same thing. So that's what we're ultimately trying to build.
Very cool.
Yes, Coach, like one more question, kind of like schematically. It seems kind of like you at Iowa State, you were kind of, ahead of the curve with the 3-3-5 defense, and, to kind of dumb it down a little bit, it kind of puts your defense in a place where you can kind of have numbers and space at all kind of levels of where the offense might want to attack you. So what is it about the 3-3-5 that you really liked leaning your hat on? And when you got here that you decided like this is the defense I want to run? And what do you think it does schematically that kind of puts the defense at an advantage in the evolving college football offense that we have right now?
Sure. Well, I think one thing, just starting with the recruiting end of it, and the guys that you'll sign every year traditionally, that it gives us a chance really in our surrounding area to find those types of bodies, to me, that will be able to play in our defense from front to back. And then it kind of started originally with us up front, where if you've got 8 defensive linemen and you're playing 3 down, you've got 2 deep, and then you've got 2 guys that are spares for you. So that depth up front that you're always trying to get and never seem to have enough of, as we know, it allows you to build depth there really collectively. And I think it allows, just like I mentioned earlier, a guy like Jared Bartlett, a guy like that who is a really good football player and plays really hard, you can find a spot for him to have success. And I think that's the uniqueness as we go through recruiting, that we're trying to find really good football players. We think we can find a spot within our scheme for really good football players that play hard. So that's really that portion of it. Now, I feel like with today's offenses and the multiplicity and how you're getting attacked and tempo and all those things that we see really each and every game, that it gives you great overlap. And it gives you, for all the things that you're getting with the RPOs and all those things, you get body on body, you get matchups, and you're able to be multiple in a lot of areas that maybe, before that you couldn't necessarily be multiple in. So there's a few reasons why we like it. But I think ultimately, over the course of time, there's a lot of really good defenses out there. It just happens to be what really we feel collectively as a staff is going to give us the best chance.
Yeah, I agree. Have you ever had any pushback with recruiting, kind of with like D linemen or specifically interior D linemen or linebackers? Like, hey, like if I'm in a 3-3-5, I feel like this defense really favors, the back 5 of it, where I'm going to be getting double teamed a lot and I'm going to be getting free releases up to me as a linebacker. Have you found kind of like guys that are a little bit originally uncomfortable with the idea of it?
That's a great question by you. And honestly, no guy has said that unless a coach from another school has said that to them. So that's where that thought arises with guys. So interestingly enough that you asked that, that's never been out of any recruit's mouth that has thought about that when they learn about the defense and what we're doing in our staff. It's usually somebody else trying to plug that information to them if they play a different style of defense.
Okay, that's good. How do you feel like the number one way, like what's your kind of like first main coaching points you really have for that front 6, kind of how to defeat the run when you originally at the snap of the ball, you are kind of at a disadvantage if you just go numbers game to each side and you're like, okay, we're going to rely on like a secondary guy who has a run fit, but he also has a pass responsibility too. He's kind of playing both sides of it. So how do you really kind of combat teams that really want to go, like a 21 personnel and they kind of want to attack that kind of, I guess, not a flaw or if you want to call it a flaw. So what are your main coaching points to kind of breaking the point of attack for run game?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the number one thing, it's 11 on 11. So it's not as if the offense is playing with 12 and we're playing with 11 because we play an odd front with 3 safeties. So that's the number one thing for everybody to understand when we're teaching them the defense. The other aspect of it is there's a lot of one-on-one blocks that take place. So, and obviously depending on what we're doing, there are some double teams that occur and most of those take place on the zero nose. So irrespective of a zero nose being in a zero or shade, that guy's going to get double teamed in any defense. So, all of our guys, I feel like understand, I feel like our coaches do a great job with all of the things and educating our guys on how they're going to get block destruction, all of those things that over time, ultimately you're going to end up with more one-on-one blocks than you are anything. And that's really what we're trying to do with many of the ways that we align.
Yeah, and it really puts kind of like leverage and tackling a huge emphasis. Is that something that you guys really try to work in the offseason, especially with those safeties in the back end? Because, I mean, there's times we saw last year where it's just a guy losing his leverage or a guy just missing a tackle because he's having to scream down a little bit faster. So is that something that you guys really emphasize in your back fives, being that they do have a real importance in the run fit?
Yep. So we spend a lot of time on tackling. That's always there's always a fine line with all that, because you're not normally tackling your offense a lot. There will be times that we do go live, and so you've got to spend a lot of time on simulating things the best you can to prepare your guys, because ultimately there's not many times where in any defense that you've got two available guys to make the hit on one ball carrier. So there are a lot of times where you are going to be the guy we're trying to get the ball to, and hopefully that design has allowed the ball to get to one of our better tacklers. So the more we can do that and continue to work on our fundamentals, hopefully the better off we will be.
Great questions, Ryan. Wow. Bringing the heavy lifting tonight. Love that. Coach, I had a couple
Coach, now you know why I sit out. I just let Ryan take over when we have football games.
That has definitely happened tonight. I can tell, Chad, for sure.
Oh yeah. Ryan knows the X's and O's. I got a couple quick ones. First off, I thought a cool thing, because I know we got to get you out of here sometime soon. A cool thing that you guys did last offseason that I think kind of helped in multiple ways was that kind of that pod system approach where, you might have the different DBs playing with different linebackers and different linemen, different looks, and getting a chance to see who plays well with who. Is that going to be a similar approach this offseason as well, or is it kind of a little bit more defined role at this moment?
It is. It's exactly how we plan to head into the spring. So it's really dividing our team up in, and it's kind of how, one, it's an organizational approach, two, allowing guys of varying experiences and years to mesh together. And, the offense will do the same thing, and we'll kind of move guys around throughout spring one. You're going to have to here and there with some guys that will get dinged up, but two, you're trying to move guys around and constantly for the part of the ever-changing, 11 that'll be in there simultaneously. So, yeah, it's just really red and black for us. Hopefully we're able to be four deep. For the most part, we are. There's a couple guys that we will have back and ready to roll by the start of spring. A couple guys won't be fully in the 11-on-11 stuff yet, through the beginning phases of that. But we are going to take that same approach, Brent, and I think it was really good for us. It also helps, on the defensive side a lot in the spring. We service ourselves, so we're doing pass fits and run fits, and our guys are also the offensive players. So organizationally, it allows us to get a lot of great looks that way. And we always think if guys are running routes and they're a cover guy, that's a good thing. That helps them understand that part of it. If guys are offensive linemen and blocking, it helps them understand that aspect, and you're teaching them football globally too. And I think there's a big benefit to that.
So a couple times throughout the spring, Coach, the membership of Bearcat Journal expects me to provide a two deep. And you guys in pods makes that really difficult. So if we could just meet a couple times after practice and you could just give me like the ones and the twos, that would be great.
I can do that. Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Now that may be just based on that day coming off the field, but I can, because I feel like you're going to be at practice.
I'm going to be at practice. Yeah. You know that. It's one of the best looks I've ever gotten from somebody with the first time you were on this podcast. And I said, I'll be at every practice. And you looked at me like, no, you won't. Like, hell, you will.
Chad, he'll
I'll be
give you
there
the
every
2
day.
deep. Chad, he'll give you the
Am I
2 deep
not?
that'll have 50 names on there. So
Right.
just
I've been
work
there
your way
every
through
day,
it.
though, have I not?
You
Every day
have
they let
been.
me in, I'm there.
You have been. I appreciate that. I do.
That's our general rule here. If they let us in, we
Yeah.
show up.
That's right.
Sometimes we show up when we haven't gotten permission to get in. But if they're gonna say you can come, we're gonna be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As long as it's not at 5 a.m.
I'll still be there. I won't be happy about it, but I'll be there.
Exactly. I one last one from me.
Yep.
Did you recruit Matthew McDoom just because of his name?
Great. He does have a great name.
Oh yeah.
That's not the only reason we recruit him, but that's an awesome question.
Yeah, he seems like he's going to be a stud. There were a couple in the chat that I thought were pretty decent. First, Sean N asked, "Do you have any game day superstitions?" And you've been through quite a lot of years of football throughout your playing days or your coaching days. Any special game day superstitions that you might have had?
Well, I had the same belt that I wore for years. And actually, I think Matt Campbell has that belt now. We had lockers beside one another, and he appropriated that belt, and I think he still has that belt. So I no longer have that belt that I wear, Sean. But I think I drink a lot of Diet Coke on game day, and that would be one thing that has turned into superstition, but probably a little bit of habit as well. Both, but that would be a couple of those things for sure.
Got to get that belt back. Then Darren Fan then asks, obviously you're from Ohio, you're an Ohioan, but
yes, sir.
Are you guys, you and your family, are you entrenched in Cincinnati now? And does this part of Ohio feel like home to you?
It absolutely does. Yeah, we are definitely here and enjoying it. Our kids are having a great experience as well, and it definitely feels like home. And I know that each day that we're here, it certainly is more fun every day. And I think we collectively as a family, we haven't been here an entire year yet, so we're still in that part of where we weren't together here this time of year a year ago, until we get to April. So and we haven't been we just got in this house that we're in July. So we got varying degrees of all those things we're working toward, but we are certainly enjoying Cincinnati. Our kids are having a great experience, and our entire family is.
That's awesome.
Do you
Anything
prefer
else, guys?
Skyline or Graders? I know everybody has Skyline or Gold Star, but
we already know that.
If you had to pick one, are you going to Skyline or are you going to Graders?
Well, the great part with the Skyline ice cream now, you can get both at Graders.
You can do both. Yeah, you can do both.
So that part's awesome.
That's such a coach answer.
The probably the coolest thing is, where we live, there are both very close. So we, have the opportunity to enjoy both of these delicacies, I would say.
Not an accident.
Unfortunately, I've probably eaten too much of both, especially this time of year. I'm usually not in the best physical shape, irrespective of the time spent in the weight room. But I do love Skyline, and I do love Graders, and I do love you, Chad.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
Yes, sir.
All love.
Somebody has to. My daughter, nobody else does. So I got Coach Veit. I'm good.
It was, Coach, it was a very long time ago, but have you ever read what the Godfather's Skyline order was back when he was in high school?
He and I have talked about that because we had discussed, in high school, they would get the perfect attendance discount cards and all that stuff that he would get. So yeah, he's told me that. Yeah. There's a lot of calories involved.
Yeah, he's gotten better. Let's just say that. Anything
He also
else, guys?
can get up and down the bleachers now. He couldn't do that when he was eating all that Skyline.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Legend. Royer, Aaron, Chad.
I'm good.
Yeah, this was great.
Save some questions. I'm going to get him here in a couple of weeks. Like we're going to,
Yeah.
I can't.
I was gonna
can't
say,
use all the
I
ammo
mean, like,
now.
yeah, we're firing up 2 weeks before spring ball. I still got a
weeks.
lot left in the chamber, but yeah, we'll hold back for now. We'll absolutely hold back for now. But Coach, this is awesome, man.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We are excited. We saw, all of us saw that the defense was making strides throughout the season last year and really keeping us in the games a lot as the year wore on. So excited for year 2, excited for the offseason and everything that's going to entail. So thanks for coming on, Coach.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Coach.
support. Yep. See you soon.
Have a good night, Coach.
Yep. All right. Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye.
Thanks, Coach.
Royer,
we just need you to have a show like with the coaches, like a coach every week. Just talking ball with Ryan Royer.
Yeah,
I'm down.
The
man.
boy, the coach, and the boy. Something along those lines.
Let's do it.
I like it. But yeah, that was awesome. I mean, and you kind of look at the stats and you look at the numbers throughout last season. But we always came on the show every Monday and we were like, the defense was the reason why the team was in the game towards the end of each one down that final stretch. And obviously some of the final scores don't show that just because it was that bend and break for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden this, that, and the other happened. But man, there's a lot of returning players on that side of the football and high level ones that I imagine are going to take a step up and see what they can do.
And I feel like a lot of the mistakes they made are very fixable. And I think they're only going to get less and less apparent with another full off season under the belt. Cause I think it gives coach time to know his players, get his players in the best place to succeed, and then start forming his call sheet around them. That's a lot. Like literally we had like during spring ball, you build up to about half of your defense. Then you get everything installed by the end of fall camp. But during the game week, it's just, you start out with like 10 calls, then you cut it down to 5. And then, so, I mean, just being able to kind of like know your players all the way from now through fall camp, it's just going to have everyone on the same page, more development, and hopefully limit like some of those, explosive plays they let up. And I'm excited. They got good players. They got a lot of competition. They got a good scheme for college football. As long as they, keep developing and don't make any critical errors, then on Saturdays they'll be good, man.
It will be. I'm excited for it. But let's timestamp and then let's get into this Ripping with Royer basketball edition and keep the vibes rolling. This is a heck of a Monday night, guys. Chad, take it away, man.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. Quick Paper services over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries. They provide a wide range of food service products, to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
This is a good time to go and get your car changed, car fixed as well. I want to let you know that you can head over to Danco Transmission Auto Care. They'll get it fixed up. Speak with Danco Joe about this next segment that we're about to do, because it's seriously the favorite thing of the week for me every single week. My good friend below me, he's going to spit the 1s and 2s, and Chad's going to give me the read for New Riff. Chad.
Fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative, New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire Tasting Room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery-exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com.
Chad, how close are you to memorizing all of those?
Pretty close. I've actually on a couple of the nightcaps, I've been going without the notes just to just to make sure my brain
get your improv up. I like it.
You got testing the brain power.
Yeah.
I can do most of them just off the dome.
Okay, fair.
Most
I like
of
it.
them.
Well, Ryan, blast
All
off.
right. Okay. What is your guys' magic number for combined total between Jizzle, Day, and CMOS, pending him playing tomorrow for the Bearcats to secure a victory?
I wouldn't even count in CMOS for tomorrow. I mean, as of Saturday, he couldn't lift his arm over his shoulder. That's probably bad for a shooter. So maybe he surprises us and he does. It loosens up between Saturday and tomorrow night, but I am not counting on that. So my total for CMOS will be 0.
Okay, let's switch it to
Josh Reed.
Let's do Dylan Mitchell.
Okay. Jizzle,
Magic
Day, and
point
Dylan.
total.
Okay. I'm gonna just throw a quick one at you real fast before you guys answer this, and I'm gonna let you two take it away first, Chad and Aaron. Jizzle, Dylan, and Day combined in the last game for a total of 11 points for the three of them combined.
The last Baylor game.
The last Baylor game, yes. 5 for Jizzle, 0 for Dylan, and 6 for Day.
It's going to have to be a lot more than that.
Yeah. Significantly more.
I'm setting my line at 42.
I can get down with that.
20, 12, and 10, baby. Even numbers.
Aaron?
I was thinking 18, 15, 12. So that gets you what?
45?
40, yeah.
Yeah, so over under 41.5. We're all taking over. I'm there with you.
I'm taking 40. I'm going under.
Yeah. I mean, I just think
you know why? You know why, Brent?
Why is that?
Who was the leading scorer in the first Baylor game?
Baylor Dan, baby. He puts on a magic suit every time we play the Baylor Bears. That's for damn sure.
Think you get double digits at least from Dan. Maybe even like 14. So I don't think the other guys will need to do as much.
Yeah.
16, 14, 10 for those three guys. That's 40. And then I think Dan gives you double digits.
Yeah, it's they just without Ojuwana or however you say the guy's name, who's out with an injury now, the Baylor big man, they don't really have a post presence defensively.
Ojinwuna.
So that I think caters to the driving ability that Jizzle's shown over the last couple of weeks. It also caters to I think a little bit more in the lob game to Dylan and Aziz, but there is something that happens when Dan plays Baylor. He tends to have some good ones. And if you think back to the first game, Dan was kind of the reason that Cincinnati was even in it. They were down 30 and he kept splashing threes. He went on these little runs, finished with 18 points. So if the over under is 41.5, I'll go under, because I think if you just get to like 65 points total and you play good enough defense, it's going to be hard to hold Baylor under that. Maybe you got to get to like 70 total, but trying to hold Baylor underneath that's a lot of point production for just those three players. I think you're going to see a little bit more chipping in from the others. So I'll go under, but close to that 41.5.
Nice. All right. Another over.
Baylor is not good on defense, and they're worse with their starting center out.
Yeah.
another over-under for victory. Over-under 8.5 threes in order for a victory versus the Bears.
Okay.
They average 7.5
Right.
on the year.
I think under, because I don't think it's going to be as fast paced as it would be if I think Baylor's going to try and slow it down. I guess is what I'm getting at. So I don't think you're going to have to make 8 threes, 8.5. So I think I'm going under.
So to Aaron's point, Baylor is 273rd in tempo offensively and 242nd in tempo defensively. They are not trying to get up and down the floor. They run really good stuff offensively. They are trying to get into their sets and run their stuff and get their guys open. So I think Aaron's onto something there, but I will say their last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last time they allowed under 70 points was Saturday, January 25th at Utah. Since then, BYU scored 93, Kansas scored 70, Texas Tech 73, UCF 76, Houston 76, West Virginia 71, Arizona 74, Colorado 76. So they have been giving up a lot of points. It's been a month. Tomorrow will be 1 month since they kept the team out of the 70s. That's the hard-hitting analysis you come here for.
Let's go.
Yeah, and so Chad, I'm thinking you're going over 8.
I'm not positive because I think with Ojanua out, they're gonna attack downhill quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, that this is not a Baylor guard unit that is great at keeping you from penetration.
Mm-hmm.
But the I'm gonna go over. Here's why, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
Opposing teams are shooting 36.1% against Baylor from 3. You know where that is in the country?
Not very good.
302nd.
Yeah.
So you're going to get good looks from 3, and some of that is going to come from getting downhill and then kicking the ball out. They've also been trying a lot more to reverse the ball. I noted it on the board against TCU. Their passing was as crisp as I've seen it all year. If that continues again in this Baylor game, they're going to get some open looks. I'll go. I'm hesitant because I think it's like 8 or 9, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ryan did a good job placing the number, but I'll go a little bit over. I think they make 9 or 10.
Yeah, I just they only made 4 last game. Obviously, my only pause is because the potential of no CMOS, which would take away 1 to 3. So, but I think you've got to score in this game to win. I think they got to be over. It's got to be one of those where it's just like desperation mode times 100 if you want to continue to be in the conversation for the tournament. So I think that confidence kind of carries into this, and I'll be at over on 8, but like not like crazy like 15, but like you're saying between 8 and 10. I'll take that route. And also their guards on the perimeter aren't like, it's not like you're dealing with point guards that are 6'4" and long defensively. You've got a couple of dudes that you can Chisel can shoot over. Day can probably shoot over if he gets a high release. So take the over.
Edgecombe 6'5", Wright 6'1", Roach 6'2", Langston Love 6'5". Jaden Nunn hasn't played, so
I would guess
Nunn is back though. They said he was sick.
If you're gonna say
but
Rob
he's gonna
Wright is
score.
6'1", I don't really trust
I'm
that.
just what they're listed. That's what they're
Right.
listed.
Right. The boy, Roy.
All right. So last time we played Baylor, we lost the rebounding battle by 2, and we lost by 20 points. Do you think that is there any chance that if we sit there again where we lose the rebounding battle by anywhere from 2 to 5 rebounds that we can still win this game? Or is this a must win the rebounding battle to walk away with the dub?
I don't think you'd have to, but I think it would help.
Yeah, because we're like 1 I think we're what 2-9. I think I wrote down whenever we lose the rebounding battle.
The problem in the first game, Ryan, was that Baylor shot 55% from the floor. There weren't a whole lot of rebounds defensively to go around for the Bearcats. So, when you score 48 and you let them get they can pile up. Cincinnati had 12 offensive rebounds in that game. So the offensive glass is going to be there. The key is going to be getting Baylor to miss because they didn't miss a whole lot in Waco.
They're not. I think Baylor, the reason why they won that game, if you go back and watch the highlights at all, is just there were a lot of runouts. There were a lot of just like they made more shots. It wasn't like, the rebounding was crazy in their favor. It was just kind of we had bad turnovers that led to easy buckets, and then they were hitting a lot of their drives, a lot of their mid-range, and then some outside shots as well. And Norshad Amir just took us to town on the glass and putbacks. I think that they'll win the rebounding battle because something happened in that TCU game that flipped a switch for Dylan Mitchell, and if he's going to be going up because Amir has to play the 5 pretty much, so he's going to be going up rebounding against a guy who's pretty much a wing, and Celestine, or however you say his name. So I think that it'll be the I think that they'll win the rebounding battle. And I think that they need to in order to come out on top. So
Ojin Wuna had 4 offensive rebounds in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So not having him could be impactful.
I'm of the belief that they need to win the rebounding battle the rest of the season, personally, if they want to win games. However, if you're not going to win the rebounding battle, you got to make sure that you're not losing the turnover battle, or you're not losing the defensive stop battle. Like, there's the points per possession battle. Like, there's other ways that you can win the game if you're not winning the rebounding, but you can't lose in every facet of the game, which if you're only losing the rebounding battle by 2, you're losing some other facets really damn bad. So they've just got to make sure that if they are going to lose the rebounding battle, which truthfully in this situation they should not, then you can't lose on every other front.
No, you absolutely cannot. Gotta win this game, period.
Got to. All right, Brent, you want to segue us into our dirty little secret we were texting about over the phone?
Daggone it. We weren't we? We were getting real into it, real feisty with it on that Saturday afternoon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, remember you were texting me because you're like, hey man, I was watching the press conference live with Wes and the boys after the big dub against TCU. You said you like to watch it because you really enjoy the questions that Chad and Keegan and the fellas ask at the press conference, and Scott Springer and the boys. They really lay out the good cues to get the A's. And then you said, wow, the lights went out, brother. Did you see that? I said, whoa, the lights went out. And you said, yeah. And you said, what's your favorite activities to do at home when the lights go out? Do you have a story? Do you have a scenario where the lights went out and you had some fun doing something, this, that, and the other? Or you kind of just go to bed? What do you do when the power's out, Brent? And I said, man, I don't know. Kind of a weird question to ask, but why don't we pose it on the BVP go around the horn and see if Chad was Saturday the most strange lights going out occurrence that you have been in familiar with, or Aaron, when the power goes out there in Athens, what do you do?
Usually I have a large piece of a tree that I need to go cut up into pieces. And so I have to find a chainsaw to borrow since I haven't invested in one yet. And we just hope that it is fixed quickly without spoiling a shit ton of food. So that's it's really just pray and find a chainsaw.
Those are fun activities, I
Nope.
guess. First off, Chad, that was weird on Saturday. I mean,
definitely
obviously, it was like a weird little timeline where it just magically they were able to fit in a game in the post-game presser and a pregame, and then poof, the power's gone again.
I mean, it was back in like 2 minutes. It came
was
back
pretty
quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I guess we probably could have carried on, but they would have had to have like reset the audio board and gotten all the, the streaming stuff back up. It would have taken probably another 5 minutes to get back to like normal. So it was just like, we already went probably 10 minutes or so, like, whatever. We'll keep it moving. So it was weird. Definitely. You're just sitting in the press room, and next thing you know, everybody's in complete darkness outside of a couple of people that had their phones out recording the thing. But it was different. Generally, just, I mean, if it's at night and the power goes out, it's just call it a night. Like, it's time to just go to bed.
Let's not even try.
Well, like, you don't want to open the freezers because you want to keep as much cold air trapped in there. So, like, there ain't a whole lot you can do. Or I live in the suburbs. Like, I don't have a
generator.
I think I remember the lights going out like twice maybe in the past like 10 years of my life. So I'm not going to invest in like a full scale backup generator to keep the house going because it's not something that we've really needed. So you just roll with it. Get a candle going, head to bed. All right, everybody. Hopefully the lights are on in the morning.
There we go. Yeah, there was a weird. I was at the state championship volleyball game when I was at Cathedral, and it was at Hinkle Fieldhouse, and the lights like flashed off, and then like before the lights came back on, as they were like regenerating, the fire alarm went off, and like our team had been on a bit of a run, so we chanted like "We're on fire." The chant was like loud, all of us crazy hooligans, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, all the lights came back on, and then the other team ended up going on a big run and winning, and they started chanting, "We put out the fire," and it was quite the tussle. The anger was fluctuating from our sideline after that. But I'm a big candle and board game guy. Gosh, I remember back in the day with the boys in college, lights go out. First off, I get a little scared, go in the bathtub for a little bit, say, "Hey man, hopefully it's gonna be all right." Then they convince me it's gonna be all right. Then I go out, turn on some candles, board games, and just see what we can make of it. That's what I like to do.
You seem like a Ouija. You seem like a Ouija board guy. You've tickled a Ouija board many times in your life, haven't you?
Oh, there's been a lot of scary scenarios. Let's just put that to the existence. Yeah, yes.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Certain things, yeah. The whole, go into the bathroom and say whatever you want to say into the mirror. All those scenarios, yeah. We've been there. We've done those. Roy, what were you saying, man? It was something about like that's the perfect date night to you or something.
I haven't had any recent memory power outages. I don't really have anything on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Well, come on down to Florida and during hurricane season and boy, oh boy, people prepare themselves for potential power outages. It's nuts, like freezing water bottles for ice, and it's just crazy, all balls to the walls. But yeah, it was a pretty cool instance that we saw there in the post game presser. So I did like you text me about that, but I think it's a good time to timestamp right now. We roll into final wrapping up, and then we hit the mailbag.
This timestamp brought to you by our good friends at Quick Paper Supply. They are a local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby. I don't think the mailbags are too deep today, so let's kind of touch on one quick topic of basketball. First off, baseball. They won 2 of 3 so far. I think the game just started for the.
Yeah,
for
they're
today.
up 1-0 in the bottom of the first.
How about that?
Yeah, didn't you hear our team tickers going off?
To be honest with you, I did not. I don't know. I get way too locked in when the new Working with Royer segment.
I heard yours, Chad. I think you have to know what you're listening for. But yeah, as soon as mine started going off, I'm like, oh no.
Did you? I really didn't hear it. I just was very focused on Ryan Royer. But
shocker.
Who knows? Yeah, thank you. But obviously, win that one. They're ranked 23rd in the country right now on a bit of a hot heater. And it looked kind of rough. A walk-off on Saturday night. And then yesterday they got down big, clawed their way all the way back, and ended up winning that one 10-9. So, you know what? Baseball's exciting. It's going to be something that we are going to track because, it seems like they are legitimate up to this point of the year. Obviously, extremely early in the season, but a good start to this one. So, we'll have more baseball talk as that continues to fire up. But Chad, Aaron, you guys did the aftermath yesterday, on Saturday, following the win against TCU. So we don't really need to rehash that entire game. Ryan, you were in the house, so if you have any finishing touches on that game, take it away. But I want to more hear kind of your guys' scope going into tomorrow and then kind of the rest of the year, because you look at a lot of these bracket projections that I've seen this morning. I went through about 20 of them. Cincinnati is right there at, first 4, next 4 out type feel. So, Roy, your thoughts on Saturday, a big win, a chance to continue staying afloat, and then kind of just the overall tournament projection feeling as only 2 weeks left in the regular season.
Yeah, TCU is really underwhelming. I thought that their offense was so sluggish and just not good, not really any skill offensively. And they didn't seem
they're
to be
181st in offense.
Yeah, they're terrible. And you could see it on, there was no action and they didn't have nearly enough one-on-one skill, the way they were setting up their offense to run. So it just kind of felt like a sluggish game where the Bearcats went off to a hot start. The offense kind of stalled throughout points in the game, but TCU is just not a good team, so they weren't ever able to do a full choke job just because TCU is not good. So they got to be ready to definitely play a more cohesive and total 40-minute game because Baylor is significantly better. And once again, not having CMOS is going to be hard on offense because sometimes without not having him on the court and if it's just Jizzle out there with CJ Frederick and Dylan Mitchell and Aziz and Dan, the offense really feels to be lacking a piece. So guys need to step up and they got to be ready to go balls to the wall all 40 minutes because it's going to be a dogfight. And I don't think TCU was really prepping and tuning us for that. So I thought getting a win's good. They had control the whole game. Didn't think they played perfect, but it's always good to get a win in the Big 12, even if your opponent is kind of not up to par and kind of reeling right now like TCU is, but a win's a win.
I didn't see you coming out with a fire hose and just destroying TCU.
They were so it was it's playing slow.
They looked pretty pathetic in the first half. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, fire hose was
their offense is clunky. It is very clunky. They do not have much individual skill. Ryan is exactly on point there.
They still find a way to win. It's a team tied for 7th place in this conference.
Yeah. They have
I
taken
felt we were
advantage.
significantly better than them, and we didn't play our best game without one of our better offensive players.
Aaron, they do the one thing that Cincinnati has struggled with.
Win.
They protect home court.
Yeah.
Like that's why they are where they are. Like they are a very tough out at home. I think they're 2-13 and 9 on the road this season. Like they are like polar opposite teams home and away. So
they're 2-7 on the road, 0-3 on a neutral site.
Yeah. 2-10
yeah.
away from home. So yeah, they're a completely different team. Like they for whatever reason, defensively, they are really good at home. Their offense still isn't great, but they are really good defensively at home and not so much on the road. So yeah, I mean, look, we have seen this defense be kind of Jekyll and Hyde, like even in the same game where teams will go 15 minutes and just look like they can never miss a shot. And then the defense figures it out and plays well for a stretch. And they're going to have to, if they want to win this thing, they're going to have to avoid that 15-minute stretch where they let Baylor shoot 63% from the floor and 58% from three, because we have seen too much of that when they have played the upper echelon teams in the league. So that's really going to be the key for me, because I think defensively, Baylor without Ojinwuna, they're just not, they're not imposing. So, you know, get downhill, make some shots. I'd run the make shots offense if at all possible tomorrow. But if you can clamp up Baylor and not let them get into a rhythm offensively, I mean, to go back to some of their scoring stuff, they only scored 65 against Houston, 74 against West Virginia, but they needed overtime for that, 67 against Arizona, 59 against Texas Tech. So here over the last month, like in the month of February, they've had some and I think Brent, they were top 5 in offense for a while.
Yeah.
And they have fallen down to 13. So
it's and a lot of teams can say this around the country, and obviously it's stuff that plagues everyone. It's hurting Cincinnati in certain ways right now, but they were definitely hit with some crazy injuries to multiple players throughout the year. And then obviously you lose Ojinwuna, and he's a little bit more of like a defensive anchor down there, but he still is going to be producing offensively just by being there and getting some offensive stickbacks and things like that, and also freeing up Norchad Amir to be kind of that 4 that just is a dog here. And then VJ Edgecombe is like either extremely hot or he has a somewhat kind of off colder night. But yeah, it just seems like the parts have just never fully clicked because the parts have just never fully been available for multiple games in a row. So they have the potential to go off. I mean, it's just, you know, if Love is shooting well, if Roach is shooting well, if Edgecombe's getting downhill and then also hitting his threes, like they are a dangerous team offensively. But facing Cincinnati, who is going to hopefully be very cognizant of where Norchad Amir is in the post and just try and take that part away, try and eliminate the drive that they were going on. You know, I rewatched the highlights, and Hickman at that point, he was playing on some injured feet at that point, right? During the season. And he was guarding Edgecombe for a handful of possessions where he couldn't really, you know, struggle to stay in front. I just think the makeup right now is a little bit better when you do have Josh Reed playing at this high level and he adds that defensive nature as well. When you do have hopefully Dan that's going out there and providing positive minutes on both sides of the court, and then that 2-guard starting 5 with Jizzle and Day, I think that matches up really well defensively against the backcourt that they're going to throw out there. So, yeah, I like MA saying it's kind of like, you know, went to BYU, got got shown the door pretty loudly. Same thing happened at Baylor, where they were up 30 at one point, and it just kind of was an ugly night to watch, to reminisce on. But I mean, Dylan's got to take that game to heart with 0 points. This is get up or shut up time, because probably the biggest game I'd say of Wes's tenure up to this point, and because it's just so much riding on just try and figure out a win, because you are right there in the conversation for the NCAA tournament still, however crazy that is. And a win here, Baylor's kind of right on the line for a quad 1, quad 2 maybe if they lose, but if they get a win or two down the stretch, it could be eventually another quad 1 victory. And I mean, obviously at the road on Houston is going to be tough on this weekend, but you got to win this one. So, Aaron, you know a lot about the old Big 12 basketball. Is kind of meeting Baylor at the right time, even though they are coming off a loss to Colorado, which is just horrible.
Yeah, VJ Edgecombe.
They're on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Well, and
but
I
that
feel like
Colorado
that's
one,
I feel like that's coincided though with the VJ Edgecombe injury, where he missed, I think, a game or two, and he's come back and it's not been quite the same.
He hasn't missed any games. He sprained an ankle and came out of the game.
Out.
He sprained an ankle and came out of a game, but he hasn't. He missed Texas Tech, but that was February 4th. So
okay.
He's had 17, 14, 7, 24, and 8 since then. So maybe it's still lingering, but like I wouldn't say that's something that's still bothering him per se.
Is that about the same time that they lost to Jamuna then?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. So they're still, like, we saw Cincinnati trying to figure it out though when they lose CMOS and you lose a game to West Virginia that you shouldn't lose. So they're still trying to figure out without a center, moving everybody up a spot. I mean, that would be if Aziz went down, that would essentially be this team with Dylan Mitchell playing the 5 and everybody moving up a spot. So it just throws your entire offense into complete disarray from what you had planned on and practiced. And there's no real time to try and patch it up in between games because you're playing 2 games a week. So I don't know. It's we're grinding it out here. We're getting to the nitty gritty. There's 4 games left for everybody here in the Big 12 slate, and you're kind of just everybody's limping to the finish line, and it's who's going to limp faster.
That's a good way to put it. A win here, obviously Houston would take a lot on Saturday, but then you close out with 2 wins next week. You're right there on the conversation. Would you put this game up there, Aaron, with probably the most important of the 4 years up to this point that we've been trying to just chip away and get back to that big dance that we all love?
No, I still think Houston is probably a more important game. If you beat Houston and you lose to Baylor, I think that's still probably a more important game, I guess. I think there's certainly a lot on the line.
Disagree there. If you lose to Baylor, you're out.
You consider it a bad loss at this point?
No, I consider it a loss that you're not going to jump over the teams that are in front of you if you lose to Baylor.
I don't know. Houston's only lost 1 game.
Yeah, I just look, man. They're not beating Houston. Like, I'm
answering the question. I think it's a more important game.
Has West figured out the secret sauce?
I agree. I don't think they're beating Houston either, but I think the implications would be bigger if you beat Houston.
If they beat Baylor and they beat Houston, then I think they're not a lock, but boy, they are on the complete right side of the bubble if that happens. Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but man, this is just so damn important tomorrow.
Here's the thing, though. Houston's luck has to run out at some point, right?
Golly,
what tonight is, right?
What?
Chance McMillan and Darion Williams are out for Texas Tech, just like Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones were out on Saturday. Like,
Aaron, put the tinfoil hat on.
They're trying to get Houston a 1 seed. The conference trying to get Houston a 1 seed.
Let's rest our very important players to not get beat up by Houston this late in the year. This is our bye game for the most part. But no, I did not see that. That's kind of interesting. Very interesting.
And it's Texas Tech up 21-20. Or no, sorry, that was Houston. Houston's up 22-19.
Okay.
MA, if they beat Houston and win the other 3 games, they'll be in the tournament.
Oh, for
like
sure.
I'm confident of that. Like,
yes.
You get Houston. Houston is 3 in net. They are as quad 1A as quad 1A can get. You would have on the road against Houston one of the signature wins in the entire college basketball season. One of the easily 5 best resume wins.
Yeah,
you would be in if you win out. I even think if they and they're not gonna beat Houston. If they beat Houston, I think they might be able to lose Baylor or you can't lose to Oklahoma State.
What I said.
But I know, but I'm telling you, they're not beating Houston. So that becomes a moot.
You told me when I brought that up, you told me I was wrong.
But they're not beating you. I told you you're wrong because they're not beating
But
Houston.
when Chad says it, he's right.
But I also said they're not beating Houston. So
you talked yourself into
it.
So is the magic number 5 more wins complete? Because that would be 2 more losses.
In the mailbag we'll get to that.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, Chad and Aaron and Ryan, I don't know. I know Ryan likes to really get on his grind with the bubble and see all the other teams on there, but it's really is a lot of teams with maybe one signature win, and that's it. Yep. Just like one quad 1 win, like that team.
And Cincinnati has the second most quad 2 wins in the country.
Yeah.
So if they add a Houston to that, and they won't, but if they do,
right,
it would be significant in terms of peer teams that are hanging out around them.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because you look at Baylor and it's like, damn, they are on a bit of a free fall, but they just had so many just quality wins out of conference that they're kind of safe, but it's kind of also like they're kind of probably going to be scrambling for their lives as well down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, it's it's a road win at Marquette for that team in Norwood. That's kind of booing their resume. It's a couple
but Marquette is dropping.
Yeah, they're not.
That win is losing its luster pretty quick.
It is. But yeah, I mean, like people have Indiana in the field now, and I don't know. I think the ACC shouldn't get more than 2, maybe 3 teams in. Probably 3. I'll cut it off there, but who knows? If they do, then the whole thing's flawed anyways. The Big East doesn't deserve to get a bunch of teams either, but hey, here we are. But yeah, if there's questions about that in the mailbag, I guess we'll bounce into that right now then. Royer, we need a win tomorrow, bud. Need a win.
Looking to go tomorrow, so
you better go.
I know.
2-0. 2-0.
Gonna try to snag some tickets tomorrow.
What's the line at?
1.5.
Oh, baby. I like it.
I went to Utah and then TCU, and it wasn't really those are my first Big 12 games. I haven't been able to go to games last year. So, I mean, Fifth Third, it was good crowd, good turnout, but it wasn't like popping, because there was never really Utah kept climbing back and forth, but that was kind of not the level of opponent that Baylor is with as much riding on it right now as there is. So hopefully Fifth Third's popping tomorrow, and it'll be a fun-ass game. And the boys like Chad said, they run their make shots offense. That's my favorite offense they run. So
let's do it. Hopefully they do that, and then they do. Let's run the make shots offense in Houston too. I think we can beat Houston. Just wanted to put that.
I want some of what you're having.
To put that out there.
I watched those guards hit those threes versus Iowa State. And I was like, holy shit! It's like I've seen Jizzle attempt that and kind of throw a couple of those in, but in that kind of top 10 matchup crunch time, they just looked unbeatable. But I mean, we were every bit into that game at Iowa State, so that could be us down the stretch there.
And we get CBS on Saturday. Oh, baby.
There we go.
Vibes will be high.
But yeah, I'm on the boat of that is a loss. We have to win every other game.
Yeah.
And it's still probably not likely.
You think? If we went out other than Houston?
I mean, it's just going to be really difficult, man. You get any of those, like Kansas State, at Utah, either of the two West Virginia games, like even just getting one of those would have changed the formula drastically. And
what is the recipe in the Big 12 tournament if we end up just losing to Houston? Is it you have to go all the way to the conference championship game?
We'll get to it. Again, there's a question in the mailbag that we'll save it for that.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think you're going to like the answer.
Win the tournament?
I don't think you're going to like the answer.
Mailbag and
Quick Paper Supply.
Brought to you by
Quick Paper Supply, your local family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. A wide range of food service products, to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Oh, baby.
All right, let's get into that mailbag.
All right.
Starting off in the football portion of the mailbag, as we always do. First question here is, Chad, is there anything we fans, customers can do to help you get better service from the 24/7 team? Is there a complaint form for us to fill out or anything like that? You shouldn't have to beg to get what you pay for from the site. Maybe if it comes from the customers, it might help. To be clear, I have no complaints towards you and your team. Your efforts are greatly appreciated.
Phew.
Not really. I mean, look, guys, there's a lot of shit. There are times that a guy like this is in response to, I think there's one guy in the 2025 portal class that kind of slipped through the cracks, and it happens, guys. Like, you're dealing with thousands of football players and hundreds of teams. Sometimes a guy is going to slip through the cracks. Like, if you go and look at the accuracy of that stuff, it's like 99%. Let's not get hung up on the 1%. Like, I get it. Yes. Like, you're paying customers. You want things to be perfect. They're as perfect as we can get them. If one slips through the cracks, I wouldn't stress all that much about it. Then really, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Mm-hmm.
What garners more W's this season? A leap from Sorsby and a small step from Tyson Vite's crew, or a leap from Tyson Vite's crew and a small step from Sorsby?
I think Sorsby's dependent on the leap from the wide receivers more than himself. So
Yeah.
I'd say a small step from Sorsby, because I think a lot of I think he had some poor decision making on some throws and those bad turnovers, but I think the offense kind of stalled because defenses kind of said, hey, we can just man up these or bracket these receivers quite easily and take away his arm talent. So,
yeah, we're going to take away Henderson and Royer, and they don't have anything else that can beat us.
Yeah. And then
I'm going big lead from the D.
Let like Kiner just get his, and then we'll end up running away with a big win.
Royer loves the D.
Oh yeah.
Pause. Ryan, though, do you think like a leap from Sorsby stat wise maybe would be a way to kind of spin this? Because I go back to think about like that Iowa State game at Iowa State. Like, what's just like if there was any point production before the final handful of minutes, then it could be a completely different game. I just feel like and yeah, I guess it does go back to the other ball catchers and whatnot. Another thing that Ryan likes. So I think I guess in a roundabout way, I agree with you. Big leap from Tyson Vite's crew, small leap from Sorsby. Small step, I guess.
Because that means it's like the defense is winning, like going and like making like points,
half plays, and
like having like pick sixes or strip sacks, return for touch. Like that's like where they're like not just not getting beat, they're going and like winning the game for the offense. I think that would be fundamentally changing.
What if we could take like the first 6 games for Sorsby and combine it with the last 6 games of the defense, and then both of them just take a small step? I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. Just meet in the middle.
What is one on-field / game rule that you would change for the 2025 football season? Chip the ball.
They're doing that in the NFL, right?
We'll see. They'll probably try it. It doesn't work the way we want it to. We can't figure it out. Too expensive.
Ejection for targeting. I think you should just flag the player. He does it twice, and I guess you can eject him, like if he does 2 personal fouls.
The only thing I disagree with is there are some that are ejectionable offenses. Like, I get your point. Like, there needs to be, I think there needs to be 2 levels, like a flagrant 1, flagrant 2. There needs to be one that's a penalty and one that's a penalty and ejection. Like, if you go, you can't, Ryan, the problem is if ejection is not on the table, guys are going to go for kill shots. And it's just not necessary in the game. Like, is it fun to watch as a fan? Sure. But like, that's somebody's like life that could be changed immediately if you allow guys to go back to just trying to decapitate somebody, essentially. Like, you have to have that has to be part of the enforceable nature of the rule. But I think there should also be a lesser violation that, gets penalized where a guy doesn't get ejected.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it could be like the way it's at right now is where there's plenty of, most of the times it's completely unintentional. Like, it's so easy to like just strike someone in the helmet when you're trying to strike them in the shoulder, and it's something completely outside of your doing. And you only get like 12 chances in football, and you work out all year for 12 weeks. It's just like taking a guy and like throwing him out of the game for 95% of the time he's not trying to do. I just feel bad for the players.
I do too. That's why I think there should be like, you should be able to like have some discretion on like, okay, that guy like literally lowered his helmet and like launched into the guy's chin. Like, that guy should be ejected because that can mess somebody up for the rest of their life. Like, that has to be on the table. But I do think there should be a way that they look at it and say, it was targeting, but the intent wasn't malicious. Like maybe it's one of those ones where like the receiver drops down and the guy's trying to hit him in the chest, but he ends up hitting him in the face because the pad level changed. Like, that should be a 15-yard penalty. It's still targeting, but you shouldn't be ejected.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if your name is Micah and you're playing a football game in Bloomington, Indiana, and you hit Desmond Ridder high, it's definitely an immediate ejection, right? No doubt about that.
For sure. For sure.
No doubt about that.
For sure.
Great played. Any info out on the spring game date / time?
No, I'm not even sure they're having one at this point. Like, I think they will. I haven't heard that it's not happening, but like, there are a lot of places around the country that are starting to bag spring games and just haven't practice. So
why is that?
Way
Generally,
to evaluate.
Well, the coaches get to evaluate. You just don't get to be there.
It's a weird way to evaluate.
It's a weird way to evaluate because you're not allowed to come.
Because they're not actually playing a game. Go play a game.
They can play a game without you there.
That's silly.
But is
That's
it
the end
really
of the-
time to play the game if Aaron's not there?
That's fair. Time to play the game.
You think it's a game? All right,
I'm talking about practice, man. Talking about practice, Aaron. Practice. A
Okay.
practice
All right.
game. It's a
That's the
practice
end of the-
game, Aaron.
that's
Talking
the
about
end of the
practice
football.
game.
That's the end of the football portion of the mailbag. Let's move on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Can we make the dance? Going 3-1, losing only to Houston, and then winning 2 in the Big 12 tournament, ending with 21 W's and going 9-11 in the Big 12 tourney.
I don't think so.
I read that wrong. 9-11 in Big 12. There we go. That's it.
I don't
That's
think
the end
so.
of the question.
I think you have to get that marquee quad 1A scalp in Houston at this point. If you don't get it, I don't think 3-1 is going to be good enough.
I think if you win 3 in the tournament with 3-1, then I think yes. Because I mean, hell, they if they go out the final 3 games with the 3-1 with the loss to Houston, they'd be the 11th seed most likely. Play Oklahoma State, then they would play Baylor round 2. That would be another quad 1 game on a neutral court. Then you
Well, right now,
Tech,
right now
which
the
would be quad
11
1A.
seed. Right now, the 11 seed would play Kansas, and the second they would play UCF, then Kansas, then Arizona.
Well, yeah, but like, so there's this website actually. It's pretty cool. You guys can just Google it. It's just like a Big 12 projections, and it like fills out the entire bracket for you. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, it would be a scenario where Kansas would have to lose certain games. Like, let's see, they would win, then lose to Texas Tech this weekend, and then yeah, I mean, obviously some things would have to happen for Kansas to lose down, but I think you need to win 3 in the tournament if you went 3-1 in the regular season the rest of the way.
The only problem there is, and I know they say this is not true, but by Thursday night, when they would play that third game, the at-larges have pretty much been decided, and the tournament committee has moved on to seeding. And they say that they still have contingency plans. I don't really believe them. Unless a team makes it all the way to the finals, like you have to have a bracket ready that has that team in it. Like there's just not been much proof of teams that have made these, that have been on the bubble, made a run in the conference tournament and gone from out to, in. There's just not a lot of evidence that it happens, Brent. Like I want to believe that you're right. Like I want to believe if you beat Kansas and Arizona or
Baylor and Texas Tech.
Baylor and BYU and Iowa State. Let's say that. Like right now, Cincinnati, if it ended today, Cincinnati would be the 12. They'd play Oklahoma State. If they win, they'd play BYU. If they win, they'd play Iowa State. If you beat BYU and Iowa State back to back, that should give you a significant bump in your resume.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that, I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely need one big win. That's it.
All right. If you could guarantee we keep 3 guys for next year, who are you keeping and why?
Go ahead. I don't generally play these games.
Yeah, I'd rather answer this after the season. So you two got it down there.
Give me Jizzle, Dylan, and Tyler Betsy. What you got?
I'll take Josh Reed. Give me Josh Reed back.
I agree with you, Aaron. I don't think there's any other way you can go about it.
It's not that I don't want Josh Reed. It's the years left.
Josh might have 2 years left, Aaron. You never know.
Tyler Betsy could take a large step after his freshman year too, to where he elevates past Josh Reed.
I have concerns. The only question is the one we've talked about on the board is what to do with Jizzle. Because if you keep Jizzle. He's going to be one of your 2 highest paid players. And he plays an inefficient brand of basketball. I love him. When he's great, he is great. But in today's game, I don't know how much I love centering a lot of what you do around a guard that relies so heavily on 15-foot jump shots. It gives me pause.
Yeah. Did you hear what Rick Pitino said about how he adjusted his team with the whole? He saw that they just really were not good at shooting from the outside, so he worked on the mid range. I wonder if that is ever something that West kind of looked at, but because he always talks about how Jizzle is improved from the outside, but I don't know. I agree. The old midi is a thing of the past, but who knows? If you can hone in and perfect it, then it could be good.
All right. Over under on how many times his teammates play stick Day against Baylor, getting Day the ball way outside with less than 3 seconds on the clock. I'll set the line at 2 times.
2 sounds about right.
I agree.
They love doing it, boy. They love doing it.
And then people are like, gosh, Jizzle, I mean, Day just fired up another NBA range 3, but like if you go back and look at it, for the most part, they're those like late clock scenarios more often than not.
He'll take them early too if he's open. He'll fire one from the logo.
Yeah, for sure. Love the confidence.
All right.
Keep it
what
going.
did the Bearcats do differently to limit Omier and Edgecombe this time around? Josh Reed.
I mean,
that's one difference.
Josh Reed on Edgecombe, I think, can be one difference for sure.
In game 1, it was like CMOS was on Edgecombe for a lot of the game.
And that was not a good matchup for the Bearcats.
and then Connor Hickman was on him for a handful of possessions too. So on a limited foot. So definitely just different personnel on Omier. On Edgecombe, and then Omier. Got to bully the bully, man. He's going to get his, but just limit him getting his.
Yeah. 6 for 8, 18 points, hit a 3, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He was outstanding in that first game.
Would love to hear Chad's favorite Steve Toyo story if one hasn't already come up by this point in the podcast. If you had not heard, Steve Toyo passed away here, yesterday?
Give me a second because I want to get this right. It dates back to, and I can't remember if it was his first year or his second year. That's what I need to look at. They played Notre Dame at US Bank Arena in a Big 12 game. Here it is. It doesn't have a box score, unfortunately. Oh, wow. How about this one, Brent? In that game, guess who the leading scorer was for the Bearcats?
Sheesh. What was it? 2009?
2008-9, yeah.
It's got to be maybe a freshman, Deion Dixon.
No. You might not get it if I let you guess 10 times.
Oh man. I mean, I'd eventually get it, but that's Deontay. Oh, I think I know who it is. Alvin Mitchell.
Nope.
What position?
Guard.
Not Deontay. What? Let's see. I mean, that was the Goon Squad before they became the Goon Squad. So
it was
Larry Davis.
21 points for Larry Davis. For some reason, he started that game.
What? It
It says Cincinnati starters. Larry Davis, 30 minutes, 8 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 6 from 3, made both free throws.
Wow.
Scored 21. Deontay scored. Actually, he wasn't the leading scorer. Deontay scored 34 in that game.
Okay. Jeez, how much did they score?
It was 93 to 89. So there was, and I believe this is what I was trying to look up. I believe the player I'm talking about was Kyle McIlharney, who was Notre Dame's point guard.
Yeah, the guard. Yeah.
And there was a skirmish at midcourt. And McIlharney stepped to Steve Toyloy. And I told this with Aaron the other night. I was convinced Toyloy was going to rip that guy's arms off and beat him with his own arms. Like he got up and like got bowed up a little bit, and Toyloy just like didn't even flinch and was like, I will break you, dude. And the skirmish ended real quick. But I remember it was right at the center court logo. There might have been like one of those, like you're coming up the floor and Toyloy set a ball screen, and I think McIlharney thought maybe it was there's a little extra mustard on it, and he got mad. And if it would have gone any farther, it would have been the end of Kyle McIlharney.
God bless him.
So yeah.
Gosh.
That was that game. It says Toyloy started that game, and Yancey came off the bench. Toyloy had 5 points, 5 rebounds in 17 minutes. Yancey had 15 and 8 in 21 minutes.
Jeez, stat stuff in that game.
That was Luke Herringody, Luke Zeller. Torrey Jackson was really good, I think, for Notre Dame. Carlton Scott, remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Ayers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McIlharney. That may have been the year they went off.
He wanted beef with Toyloy, and that was not the dude you wanted smoke with.
Yeah. R.I.P. Steve Toyloy, man.
Yep. Sad.
Is Dan Skilling's season summary to this point more like a case of Ted Lasso and the Yips, or E.T. phone it home?
I don't think he's phoning it home. I really don't. For whatever reason, man, he just is not the guy we saw last year. Like the attention to detail is not. I don't know if you want to call it the yips, but whatever it is, the footwork, the
inexperience has been exposed by adversity.
That could be a part of it too, Ryan. Is he took the league by surprise a little bit last year, and I think teams are attacking him defensively way more than they did a year ago. It's
he's a predictable player.
Can guys handle moving up the scouting report? And Dan didn't handle it.
What are the chances we get Baylor Dan tomorrow?
I'm counting on it. Baylor Dan, let's go. Off the bench, he's going to give you 13. I'm going 13.
I think you need it about as much as you need anything tomorrow. All right. Nothing else sad, boys?
I'm all in on Baylor Dan. Give me Stetson Dan tomorrow. Screw it. I'm down for that too.
We need it.
All right. What are you expecting the line to be for over-under team total points you see for the Houston game?
I mean, Houston's been scoring. So that's going to push it probably up a little bit higher. Ken Palm has it 70 to 55. So 125.
Woof.
125.
I bet you the Bearcats score 62 points.
Okay. I like that. Well, 62-61 dub.
Yeah.
You, Royer. I don't like that.
You read my mind.
Jeff, I haven't heard from those guys. So to my knowledge, I will not be on with the Waco boys tomorrow on 365.
Man, they're probably already in a world of hurt trying to figure out what the heck's going on with that b-ball team right now.
Jet, you don't have to pay for on-screen questions. If you want to guarantee your question is asked, make a donation. But we are in the mailbag, which is a message board feature. So we generally don't take a lot of questions from the audience, or this segment would never end. So it's just timing right now. Your timing is off.
And the last question in the basketball portion of the mailbag: where do you think UC needs to be in terms of NIL to compete next season? I know it's a moving target, so not looking beyond that.
I don't know. I mean, it's now you're going to add rev share into the mix in July. So I think that is going to reduce some of what you have seen in NIL. I know everybody felt pretty confident that 3.5 to 4 million was going to be a pretty big number this year, and it ended up being bottom half of the league. So I would guess overall somewhere around 6 is kind of a necessity to get to where you want to be. And that would probably be 4 in rev share and 2 in NIL. If they could keep it at 3 in NIL and get to 7, that would obviously make things a little bit better. But just reading the tea leaves, I think you're gonna need to be around 6. But of course, last year we thought 3.5 to 4 was going to be really good, and it ended up being third tier. So it's a tough one. It's hard to pin down a moving target, especially now that you're going to add another complete unknown in rev share into it, like on top of things.
Well, how much do some other teams freak out too, like Kansas after this season? And
right. Well, shit, but Kansas throwing money at the problem hasn't solved it. They've freaked out the last 2 years. They've thrown money at it. They've been one of the top 2 or 3 NIL teams in the country both years, and have built a roster.
That's true.
Moving on to the baseball portion of the mailbag.
Ooh.
Wow.
Let's
Can
go.
we get a little baseball? Can we get a little baseball coverage on the nightcap on game days? Little surprise, no mention at all last night after the very cool 10-9 win over UNLV.
Come on, guys.
Thanks, Killer V.
We recorded that before the game started yesterday. So
you guys can't read the future? What the hell are we doing here?
If they're playing a 9 o'clock game and we record the nightcap at 8, I don't know what to tell you. When we get to a point where we've got final scores, when we're recording the nightcap, yes, we will give you some baseball coverage on the nightcap. But that is, we are not going to push the nightcap to 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning
for baseball.
It's Aaron's got to get up. I've got to get up. We stay up pretty late to do this stuff as is. Asking us to stay up until 1 a.m. to do a baseball recap is probably not going to happen. It's not probably not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
If it was College World Series, that'd be one thing. This is not that.
Right.
I don't even know that the feed was good from UNLV. If I'm not mistaken, it was hot trash.
Oh, it's horrible.
It hasn't been great.
I watched what I could. It's only one camera, and it's behind the dugout. You can barely even tell where the ball is.
So I'm good on all of that. 2013. This is the Banks portion of the mailbag, by the way. 2013 was the last year the Reds made the playoffs and the Bengals made the playoffs, and Bearcat hoops went dancing, and the Gridiron Cats won at least 9 games. Can that happen again in 25-26? If not, which teams will fail us?
No, all of them.
Your best bet is on FC Cincinnati.
Probably. probably.
I mean, I don't know. The Bearcats need to win 8 games. They need to win 8, and 7 is what a lot of people have been talking about out of us 4, actually. But Bengals will probably make the playoffs. They'll figure their shit out. The Reds, I mean, Mr. Francona, I bet you they'll be pushing at it. I don't know if they'll jump all the way in. I think the Bearcats will make the tournament next year, though.
Oh,
I think the Reds, a lot depends on the Cubs and the Brewers. Or not the Brewers, the Cubs and the Pirates.
Way to hit us with a one-liner,
Jeez,
Thrifty
money,
Walrus.
If the Cubs and the Pirates are good, that makes the division pretty crowded. And it would be difficult to get, to get through all that noise.
yeah. Boy, oh boy. I mean, I'm down for it right now. Why not?
Sure.
Well,
Just don't
we
think it's
know
gonna
what-
happen.
magical run.
We know where Brent's money's going to be.
Let's go. Let's do a little cheeky parlay on this. I'm in.
And last question in the mailbag. What was one sitcom or show that most people really liked that you really thought was actually pretty bad? I'll start. Seinfeld. Trash.
Wow.
Seinfeld was absolutely not trash.
Trash.
That's crazy.
Um,
That's crazy you took that
I
from.
like most sitcoms because I just look at them as kind of a way to laugh for half an hour. Like I don't.
Right. How I Met Your Mother, I never got into.
See, I loved How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I just never got into it.
I mean, I'm gonna take hell for this. The sitcom that probably it is great, but I never got into it.
What?
The Office.
See,
I
like
used to be like that. Then I started watching it, and it was
it is so
unbelievable.
fun. It is so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, but I
Yeah.
just like for whatever reason, I guess it probably came on a night where like we weren't in front of the TV.
Sync up. Yeah.
So it just didn't sync up, and we never started watching it from the beginning. So like we never when I sit down and watch an episode, it's funny, but I never really consume the library front to back of The Office. So I guess that doesn't count because I thought it was good. I didn't think it was pretty bad. I just I wasn't in a TV phase at that point in my life.
That's how I was with it, Chad. And I said, you know what? Everyone won't stop talking about this shit. I'm just going to sit down and go for it. And so I started it my freshman year of college. And I was like, oh,
you watch all of them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be my when I would eat in between classes, I'd just throw it on my laptop and sit at the old dining hall.
Hell yeah.
I got one. It's only because a clip of it showed up on my TikTok FYP today. Will and Grace. Never got that one. I think it was because Grace, her assistant, that lady, was annoying as shit. And she just turned me off to the whole thing. I just wasn't down with. I never I didn't find it enjoyable at all.
Yeah, I watched that. What about Lost? Did you guys ever get into Lost? I feel like that was a heater back in the day.
It's not a sitcom though.
Well, it's a sitcom or show.
Oh,
that most people liked. What about Survivor? There was a cult following for Survivor.
I watched a lot early, and then it just fell off.
So many of them.
Yeah, I think right around so Kelsey was born in 2010, and I think TV just kind of took a back seat for a while. So The Office, I never watched The Wire. I never really watched Breaking Bad.
Oh, Breaking Bad's great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not that I watched them and thought that they were bad.
Right.
I just didn't watch a lot of TV at that point in time.
Yeah. Entourage.
Entourage was funny.
Run through all those HBO. Just
Sopranos.
Yeah. Game of
All right,
Thrones.
that's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
Did you watch Everybody Loves Raymond, Aaron? I feel like you're a big Raymond guy. Ray Romano. Is that his name?
I did not watch that.
I watched a fair share of those. Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
King
Yeah.
of Queens. You look like a King of Queens guy, Brent.
I was not. I watched a lot of Gossip Girl back in the day.
Oh, what's the new girl? Never got that one.
Yeah,
Zoe
me.
Deschanel.
Yeah.
Never got that one.
Yeah,
I tried that one
Who
even.
was obsessed with it, and I never got into it either.
It
Always
wasn't made for
Sunny.
me.
It's good.
Always Sunny's hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
That's my kind of comedy. Always Sunny.
Aaron, you're a big Glee guy, aren't you? You like Glee?
What do you keep putting my name in your mouth? Get it out.
I went through a Glee phase. Fantastic show.
He's gonna
I
Will
won't step
Smith
back from
smack the shit out of you here in a minute.
Yeah,
Thought
I'm
we were
going
getting
to smack the poo out of the Baylor Bears tomorrow night. How about that? Let's go ahead and get that out into the atmosphere. Let's get that positively flowing, because tomorrow night at 7 p.m. the Bearcats face the most important game in the Wes Miller tenure up to this point. I'm going to say it. There's nothing that you can say to me to change it. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m., nuzzle up to your TV screen, head out to Fifth Third Arena. ESPN 2 is going to hold it. Fifth Third Arena is going to be loud because Ryan Royer will be in attendance. Very, very important game there. But shouts to Tyson Veit, the man. Great interview with him. Go ahead and check that out. Shouts to Danco Transition out of here. Shouts to Cincy Light here in the Cincy Light Studios. Shouts to Quick Paper Supply, and shouts to New Rippin' with Royer. Ryan, you're the man. But for my guys, for the crew, for the squad, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer, I am Brent Young. Yet again, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!